Hello.
Welcome, everybody. Muscle Science for Women. We're your hosts, Ashley and remember
Oh,
your name?
Rachel.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Still waking
We
up,
were so close. We were so close this time.
No, there was like a notification that popped up on Zoom, like, you're recording. Do you want to do this? And I'm like, yes, I am recording. Hello.
Well, here we
And then
are,
I forgot my name.
and we made it, and we both have names and we know them most of the time. It's been a minute since we caught up, but I think we're both, like we were saying offline, we were both recovering from being tired for very different reasons. I was texting you yesterday and was like completely illiterate. I was just sending like gibberish emojis that didn't make any sense. It was all over the place. Um,
You know what the
anyway,
funny thing is that like I didn't even think that they were all over the place. I was just like, yeah, that's normal. Like I
well,
completely understand. And it's probably because I was just like on another planet at the same time.
also probably because the way that we all communicate via text now is like our standards of like writing something legible or coherent are so low that you're like, if I can get the basic gist of this, that's enough. I don't need to decipher the rest. I don't need to know exactly what she's talking about, just enough. You know what I
Agreed.
mean? I think that's basically how
Yeah.
it works. So since we last chatted, I had a little jaunt to New York, which was very fun.
Oh yeah.
And for once, timing worked out really well in my favor because there is a like tropical storm hurricane situation that was happening on the
Oh
East
no.
Coast. And it started in Bermuda and then was moving its way up. It didn't start in Bermuda, it was on the path, and Bermuda was on the path and it was going the eastern seaboard. And I basically just like missed it in New York and then kind of got back, and it just was bad enough that like the ocean here is very wavy and pretty, but like the weather isn't so bad. So that was really nice. But I met my good friends that live in Bermuda in New York, so they managed to skip the storm at home. And um, yeah, we just had a lot of fun. It was like very nice and hot and sunny, and I got to eat so much food, and I got so many steps in, and I
I saw that.
confirmed, yeah, and I confirmed that walking all day in the most densely populated, overstimulating city in America is still less tiring than having a toddler. So truly, like it was just relaxation on every level for me. I got to go to a hotel room by myself and not have to take care of another living person and just drink iced coffee and, hang out.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it was really great. It was a very nice trip. I'm trying to think if there was anything like health and wellness related. Not really. I ate a lot of good food that probably wouldn't qualify as super healthy, but
Tartar.
I did,
If
I
there's
always eat the
tartar, I'm getting
tartar.
tartar.
It's the words I live by, truly. And I'm going out to dinner tonight and I already know there's tartar on the menu. And guess
Oh,
what?
there you go.
He's getting it.
Love
But
it.
yeah, so relatively uneventful but fun trip to New York. What have you been up to since we last chatted?
Um, well, lots of birthdays happening,
Hmm.
in my
Lots of
friend group. So
parties.
celebrating that, lots of sports. I just signed up for a kickball tournament for Labor Day. That I was having FOMO and I thought like we thought we were traveling, so I couldn't
Hmm.
go. And then I was like last minute, I want to go. And it's in LA, so it's like a 2 hour drive. So I'm gonna do that next weekend. And then we are getting our little puppy girl in three
Yeah,
days.
it's so cute.
Um, did I
Have
tell you
you,
what her name was?
I think maybe you did. Tell me again, remind me.
Okay. Well, it's kind of funny. Speaking of names in the beginning, when we were talking about names,
Yes, yes.
um, so that her given name is Felicia. We're like, no, no thanks. So her name is now Mia, but we're gonna have a welcoming party, like next week with all our friends to kind of like welcome home party, and it's gonna be named by Felicia.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm like, that actually works on so many levels. What's the
Yeah.
significance behind Mia, which is a very cute name also?
Um, so MIA, Miami,
Oh, right. Yes,
where
yes,
went
you
to
did tell me
school.
that.
Yeah.
You did tell me
So
that.
yeah. And then Lilo's name, she actually came named Lilo, and we love that name. So
Hmm.
um, and we just kind of think it fits like Lilo, Mia, Lily, Mimi.
Hmm.
Probably gonna come up with some crazy, like we have so many crazy nicknames for Lilo that don't even
Makes
like
sense.
have
Yeah.
anything to do with her.
Yeah. Well,
Like panini, like literally what?
I think
Um,
it's
yeah,
never not hilarious to name an animal a human name, which is like Mia is cute, but it can like work for a dog. But like Felicia is just fully a human being's names, which is what
yeah,
makes it kind of hilarious. But
yeah.
that's very exciting.
So
So
anyway,
how do
just
you,
prepping for that.
yeah, how do you like, I know how you would prep logistically, but like, is there a way to prep a dog for a new dog coming? Like, how do you do this? Because like I'm thinking of like you have a toddler, you're gonna have a new baby, you gotta like
Yeah,
talk to the toddler, but you can't. Like, how do you do that with a
yeah.
dog?
So we have a trainer that we've had for Lilo for it's kind of I forgot what the exact company is called, but you like pay a one-time fee and they're your trainer for life. And they actually are international and they have different trainers like around everywhere. And so we have like a trainer in San Diego. So if, when Lilo was younger, we uh, had like met with him a bunch of times and sometimes she's had like a few little behavior things. So we kind of like um do things every so often, but he is going to come over when we bring the dog home and he's going to be there and help us to introduce them and do whatever needs to be done. So that's nice because I don't have to like worry about that because there are certain things like obviously this is like Lilo's used to be in the house alone. You don't want to just bring another dog in and like her feel super jealous and not have like a good start to that relationship. So he's going to help us with that. But I will keep you posted because I think that is something that a lot of people deal with. Like if you get another
Mm-hmm.
dog, how do you approach that? So anyway, I'll
Totally.
I'll keep you posted on the next recording how that goes.
Definitely do. And we will all be looking out for the pictures. You did send me some
Yeah.
pictures in that original video, and it was really freaking cute.
Yeah, we're
So
excited.
excited about that. All right. Well, let's
Cool.
just like dive into some questions because we actually did get a pretty good influx of like sort of interesting and unique questions, including some really interesting ones from a male listener that we'll get into a little bit later. But first, let's start with this one from Lisa. I really like. She called it the Healthy Choices Decision Tree question, which I mean, already you're giving us so much information. Okay, so she says, Ashley and Rachel, thank you so much for your very informative podcast. I discovered it about a month ago and have really enjoyed listening to current and old episodes. Before we even go any further, I would love to know because I feel like we're getting a lot of emails from people who are like, I just discovered your podcast, right? And I wonder, is there something, because we don't do any marketing or advertising for this at all, besides our current audience. So like, I wonder how it gets picked up on an algorithm. I wonder if people are like sharing it with their friends. Like, I just wonder how that's happening because we
Mhm.
are continuing to get new audience. So I'd be so fascinated. Like, and I would love if anybody who's listening who is like a relatively new listener, I'd love to hear from you. Like, how did you find out about us? Did you just kind of, are you
Mhm.
searching for like women's nutrition, fitness podcast, whatever? Just
That's kind of what
curious.
I thought. Like that was the most reasonable.
Yeah, but I
That's
just
not the
wonder.
right word, but
I
yeah.
think it'd be interesting to see if people are like how people are getting to know us. And another thing I wanted to mention because I just started partaking in this. I don't know if you listen to your podcast through Spotify. Do you listen through Spotify or somewhere
Hmm.
else? Okay.
Yeah, Spotify.
So you can leave comments on podcasts now on Spotify.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So which is
did not know
interesting.
that.
I mean, maybe good, maybe bad. I don't know. But like I don't think people are using it too much. But I today, for the first time ever, left a comment on a podcast that I was listening to. And it's just a funny one. Like it wasn't any kind of like real feedback. It was just like, I just felt like I was just like, let me just try this and see like what
Yeah.
happens. And it's kind of cool because it's just like another way to kind of, I don't know, have some sort of interaction or engagement with the thing that you're entertained by or listening to, right? But you can
I'm
leave,
gonna try it because
look,
do we get
see?
notified if we get the comment?
Well, I don't know because I don't know if we've had one yet, but if you like click on the episode that you're
Okay,
listening to.
Ashley smells.
Yeah, with that. You know what though? Guess what? It says from Rachel, so then we're fighting.
Oh, we're
Um,
fighting. Oh
but
no.
anyway, yeah, so like right under the description, it says comments, be the first to leave a comment, and then
Mhm.
you can just leave a
All right, we'll play
comment.
around with this afterwards.
Yeah, well, we can, but also you guys do it too if you're listening. If
Yes,
you
yes.
hear something, you like something, you got some feedback, you want to tell us something, you can send us an email. As always, we love those
Mhm.
and read them. musclescienceforwomen@gmail.com, the number 4. But you can also just, here's another easy way. You're already listening on Spotify, just leave a comment. So that's cool. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the email. Okay. She said, the question I have relates to how to make healthy decisions when you can't be 100% perfect. Yes, in an ideal world, we would all get 8 hours of sleep, make good food choices, and get plenty of exercise and rest, but it doesn't always work out that way. Yes, that's very true. She
Mhm.
says, I think as I think about all I've learned from you and other resources, the hierarchy of healthy priorities seems to be sleep, then food, then exercise. And I would say you're pretty on the money there. Um, Meaning, if I have a day where I wake up late and I only got 5 hours of sleep, it would be better to sleep another hour than get up to exercise before work. Or if I had the choice of spending an hour making a healthier meal, that would be better than exercising during that hour. Am I thinking about this right? How do you think about prioritizing when you aren't able to be 100% in all areas? So maybe we'll answer that first, and then she's got like
Mhm.
another secondary question. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think, I mean, in general, I feel like that's on the money. I mean, there's kind of like, I look at it as like a domino effect. If you are not sleeping or if you don't have a good night of sleep, it kind of is going to derail your whole day. But obviously, there are certain times where we can't necessarily control that. So I think one of the biggest things is like prioritizing what you know is going to be most productive for you during that day. So, like, for example, if you did not get a good night of sleep, that doesn't mean that, oh, now you could just sit on the couch all day and, not do anything, not get your steps in, maybe. But maybe you're not like pushing yourself to a complete failure during your training, right? Maybe you
Yeah.
do go and get your training session in, but you tone it down a notch because you know your body's not as recovered as it could have been, right? And then also, yeah, paying attention a little bit more to your nutrition that day, knowing that and this is an awareness piece of it, right? So, like, I know, for example, if I have a crappy night of sleep, I'm actually going to be way more aware of paying attention to my hunger signals because we know that if you have a crappy night of sleep, it can absolutely mess with your hormones, especially hunger, right? Hunger hormones, ghrelin, leptin. And if you're not aware of that, then you might just be snacking all day long and not really paying attention to that. So that's something where I know if I'm like super snacky during the day or even in the afternoon, I like take a step back and like, okay, am I actually hungry or am I just tired and things are kind of going haywire and really paying attention to that. So I know that's not really answering the question, but that's kind of how I look at it. It's like like when one thing kind of gets disrupted, how do you manage the other things?
Mhm.
Um, and look at it more in like, okay, how can I focus on certain things versus just like looking at all the negatives, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
How about
think
you?
I think another thing to kind of add to this is, again, from a high level perspective, what she put there is correct in terms of like the true hierarchy of what is most important for your health, right? Like it maybe if it's more important that you are lean, then maybe in the short term you do choose the workout or whatever. But like for overall health, smart decision making, what she put there, sleep, then food, then exercise is correct. The only sort of, again, but also thing I would
Mhm.
add, in addition to what you said, is it's also about the sort of balance and consistency of behaviors over time. So if you are consistently unable to get your workouts in because you're spending all your time trying to get that extra sleep, or your sleep isn't sorted out and so you're working on that, or you have to meal prep every day and so you don't get time to get your workout in, whatever, then that becomes an issue. So it's at that stage, if you feel like you're constantly having to juggle and decide between one healthy thing or the other, that may require a kind of stepping back and an audit of your entire sort of lifestyle to an extent, and where can you make sort of little changes here and there. And it is the truth and the reality that some people who work shift work or have many kids or two jobs or whatever, there's literally a fly landing on my face. Anyway, talk
Don't
about,
tell Lilo. She's deathly scared of
oh my
flies.
God, talking about
Deathly
trying to
scared.
like work while you're being distracted. Anyway, so again, like I don't want to sound like, oh, well, if you don't have time to work out, like change your whole life. But if, these are the things you're juggling with and you're like, I just can't seem to get this workout in ever because I had to pick food first, or I had to meal prep properly, or I needed to get that extra hour of sleep. So then things are kind of a little bit out of whack. So then you might just need to start like reevaluating, like, can I do like mini workout snippets throughout the day? Instead of going to the gym for an hour, can I do, 3 15-minute things around the house or something? Or
Mhm.
can I do one big long meal prep on the weekend instead of doing it every night or morning when I could be getting a workout in, whatever. So again, there's always like more to the answer than just like yes or no. But I
Yeah.
think that
And
basically covers it.
yeah, and one last thing is also just like we talk all the time about planning ahead, right? And so I know for me, or like if you're a type A person, you plan ahead and your plan does not go the way that you planned, you get like, or at least for me, I get like stressed out, anxious, all that stuff. So I think a good kind of way to look at it, or a way to plan a little bit more ahead, is like having a plan B, right? So if you plan to work out, you know, these days during the week and something happens, for example, you wake up and you're just like, I had a horrible night of sleep, but I had a plan to get my leg day in today, like my hardest day of the week. Now I'm all screwed up. Have a plan B, right? Be able to, what's the word? Like shift and
Pivot,
be able
yeah.
to, be flexible. Flexibility. That's the word. Like, don't get so caught up on, oh, I had this exact plan, I can't follow through with it, so I'm just not going to do it at all. And I'm just going to say F it for the rest of the week, right? That's absolutely not what you want to do. So having, plan B, plan C, and being able to kind of work around it, that is, especially if your schedule is a little bit all over the place, or if you have kids or something like that, like that I think is a necessary part of being able to still get the things in that are important to you, so that you feel good and confident, and you're not, constantly falling into like the F hit mindset, or like I'll start over next Monday or whatever it may be. So that's just
Yep.
another thing, like having multiple plans, I think is important.
The second part of her question is related to sleep. She says, is there a minimum amount of sleep that you should get before you decide to do a workout or not? I've always told myself that if I couldn't get at least 4 hours, then I would skip my workout because I don't want to injure myself. I'm not talking about repeated nights of minimal sleep, but if I had one night where I couldn't fall asleep or I was up late for some reason, is there a minimum threshold of sleep you would recommend? I mean, I think this is probably very, very dependent on the individual and your lifestyle and what else you've got going on. I do think that, again, if we're talking one night of crappy sleep, it probably more depends on everything else that's going on. Like, did you wake up and you're like, I'm okay, I got 5 hours, but I normally get 8 and I feel okay. I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to eat properly. I don't have a stressful day. I'm not feeling sore, whatever. Like, if every other feedback factor is like you're good to go, and then if you wear one of these watches like everybody does that I don't, and it's telling you like you're okay, like your recovery is okay, like if everything is pointing to you feel fine except you got one night of kind of suboptimal sleep, then maybe you go to the gym and you warm up and you feel it out. And if you've warmed up and you've done your like 10-15 minutes and you're into it and you are like, ugh, I'm dragging, I feel like crap, then maybe you take it easier, maybe you skip it that day or whatever, but you kind of gave it a
Mhm.
shot. Or you might find you go and you warm up and you feel great. I think again, it kind of goes back to my comments, the first part of this question. It's sort of like, look at the situation in the aggregate. Like, sleep is the most important thing. And to her point, if you got 4 hours of sleep 4 days in a row, like, yeah, you need to figure out what's going on there before you go crush a heavy leg day. But if you had one day where you stayed up late watching this HBO show that I just finished watching, that I was so obsessed with and I couldn't stop watching anyway, and you stay up late and then you wake up the next day and you're like, I'm good. I'm ready to go. I'm going to go get my workout. And just make sure you warm up properly, make sure you're fueled properly, make sure you don't do something stupid, but you're probably okay. I mean, would you agree
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it just comes back to like what we said before as well. Like, I mean, everything you said, I'm not gonna repeat it
Yeah,
because I think you nailed it. So
I nailed it. Okay. Can you hear
nailed
me
it.
slurping my drink into the microphone when I'm
No,
drinking? Okay, good.
I cannot, but I just got distracted because, of course, when you have like freaking iMessage on your computer, I just got a pop-up message, and this is funny because it's the people who are delivering Lilo.
Your
It's the
doggy,
group
yeah.
name is called Felicia to San Diego, and they just messaged me. Now I'm being distracted while I'm trying to record a podcast. So I'm trying to like exit out of this, and then of course I exit out of stuff I'm not supposed to exit out. Anyway,
Dude, that's
I digress.
so
Let's move on.
unprofesh. Okay.
Focused.
This is why
I'm sorry.
I do not have iMessage on my laptop. Like as soon as it says like, hey, do you want to connect like your text messages or whatever to your laptop? I'm like, I'd rather die. Absolutely not.
And
But
then I have Alex calling me 5 times and I'm on do not disturb. Like, hello, I'm recording a podcast, please.
it's like
Anyway,
people don't even respect the sanctity of our podcast. Okay. This is precious. This is
I
precious
know.
time that cannot be interrupted, except it always is, and it's fun. Okay. All right, so we got that question down. I do want to also just quickly give a shout out to another listener named Rachel who responded when we mentioned we were talking about sort of like decision making and toxic load, and I got these AirPods that I'm so obsessed with. By the way, did you buy a pair yet? The
I
new like noise
actually looked them
canceling?
up and I'm pretty sure that I do have the ones that you were talking about.
Really?
But I think I have like the older like mine are really
Okay.
whoa, mine are pretty old.
Okay.
They definitely are noise canceling, but
Okay. Okay.
um
Again, I brought these to New York, like on the street. And I know it's probably not a smart thing to have noise canceling on the street when you could be like, I don't know, grabbed or run over at any second. I didn't do it the whole time, whatever. Just like when I was in like a super busy, I don't know, Soho in the middle of the day, whatever. But it's nuts how well it works. Anyway, all that to say, Rachel did send us some feedback with a really like well researched email with some podcasts to like do some further research about like EMFs and radiation and stuff like that. And I haven't had a chance to dive into it. So when I do, I'll provide kind of maybe some more feedback to this conversation. But in the meantime, I just want to thank her for taking the time to do that. And she also left a really nice comment for us. She said,
mhm.
I absolutely love your podcast. I love your balanced approach as you incorporate your real life and real entertaining happenings along with the science of all things women's health, fitness, and muscle. Your intros are the best. The telling of your personal stories makes me feel like, hell yeah, they're women too, just like the rest of us. Okay. Love
I
that
love that.
because I'm not sure how interesting our stories actually are. I mean, our lives are probably interesting. We don't tell all the details on here, but sometimes I'm like, do people care about all this, just shooting the
Yeah.
shit that we do in the intros? But I think people do like it. We get a lot of good
I
feedback.
enjoy
So
it.
I know we enjoy it, and that's what we're here for, is to have a good time, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, so thank you, Rachel, for that. All right. Another feedback that isn't actually a question that we should comment on is Chelsea sending a love
Oh
note to
yeah.
Rachel's EDM playlist. So if you guys remember
This
back,
made my week. Like I was
yeah,
like, I
if
love this.
if you remember back a few weeks ago, Rachel was talking about this EDM festival that she went to, and she made this playlist. Did we post that in the show notes? I think we must have, because that's how she got it, right?
I think yeah, we had to.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
had
we must
to.
have.
Yeah.
Anyway, and Chelsea wrote, she said, I never thought I would get into EDM. I convinced myself it was a subgenre of music for folks who are night owls and use recreational psychedelics. You won't find me on that Venn diagram, no shade. I'm like, well, maybe it is for those folks, and that's okay. Hearing Rachel talk about her EDM festival experience a few episodes back piqued my curiosity, and I decided to give her Spotify playlist a listen. I can't stop. I listen to it during my training sessions. I listen to it while I clean my house. When the afternoon
I
slump
love that.
hits, it instantly makes me happy and gets me in gear to tackle whatever task is at hand. So thank you, Rachel, for your chef's kiss perfection of a playlist. Love the podcast. Your content is much needed in a space that gets so saturated with misinformation. That's an amazing email. That is so
I love that.
nice.
And that's exactly how I thought of EDM music too.
Mhm.
In the sense I just thought it was like all like bass and no words or anything like that. But when you, at least now over the last years, I think it's turned a lot more into like recreating songs and making them more upbeat, which is what I
Mhm.
love. And that's what that playlist is, which we'll post again on this episode. It's called the Come Down, which that just means like, over the last year we've been going to like music festivals and stuff. And after that, you're like, oh, that was so fun. And you kind of have like a little bit of a, like after any event, like any fun event or anything like that, you're like a little depressed after because like that was so much fun. And now I'm back to, you know, normal and stuff. And that's great. But, you get a little depression. So having something to kind of lift your spirits up again is really what that playlist is. It's just like happy music.
Again, no judgment on me or anyone else, but anyone who has done recreational drugs knows what the come down means. So
I
that's
mean, that's
all we
another
need to.
another part of it. But in
Anyway,
my eyes, it was more so Like
Okay.
I want something to make me feel good and the
No,
music
I hear
that's
you.
like upbeat, pumped up. And I
Yes.
listen to it when I like it's my workout playlist. And I've
Yeah.
actually recently added I think about 10 or 15 new songs last weekend. So we will
Sweet.
post it in the show notes.
Another thing I liked about that email, to kind of bring it back to the overall theme of this podcast, is this idea of being open to trying new things and challenging your own judgments about stuff. You know, it's like I thought that EDM was just for like weirdo like druggies that like stay up all night, but you know, I gave it a shot and I really like it now. And now I have like expanded my horizons and there's something else in my life that like brings me happiness. I think that's awesome, right? And you can
Yeah,
look at that in so many different facets of life. So I think that's cool.
agreed.
All right. Last question. Before we get into this last question from Steph, we do have a show sponsor,
Hmm.
the ever delicious and wonderful
Our
and
favorite.
sustaining Active Stacks. Gotta love it. We both, again, we're on the same page today. We both separately posted a Ninja Creamy story because we love it and our protein ice cream gives us life. And I did a new one. Have you done that yet? The orange, like the creamsicle recipe
Mm-mm.
yet?
No, but I
Yeah,
saw it and I'm gonna do it.
right? I'm
Sounds
pretty
good.
pumped about it. I don't know why. I guess I've just been like eating more fruit lately for whatever reason because it's hot and because I've never hydrated enough. And so I've just been trying to find more ways to get fruit into my diet. I'm like, how can I turn fruit into ice cream? Obviously. So I haven't made it, like I haven't eaten it yet, but it's vanilla active stacks, which has real vanilla bean powder in it. So it's
Hmm.
not just like vanilla flavoring. And I mix that with regular milk, like regular cow's milk, not some other kind of milk, because I'm cow's milk all day long. It has more fat, it
Cow's
tastes
milk.
better. And just some like blended orange. So we'll see how it goes. But I tried some, like, you know, I pre-blended it before I froze it and it tasted good. I already had like a sip in like smoothie form and it was real good. So
Hmm.
I'll let you guys know. But
Yes,
anyway,
please do.
that's my
Love that.
weekly
Love
Active
active
Stacks
stacks.
recipe.
What did
Yep.
I think I did have vanilla too this past week.
Yeah.
I can't remember,
It's good stuff. Yeah.
but yes, it is
And
good stuff.
they currently still have the beef protein and the collagen protein options, right?
Hmm. Yep,
And
and in both flavors. Yep.
yes, chocolate and vanilla. And our code, we have a link in the show notes, and you can also just use the code MSW10 when you purchase and stock up and make some ice cream and just like live your life. Enjoy it, okay? Because why not?
I love that.
Live
Make
your
some ice
life,
cream,
eat ice
live your
cream.
life, eat
Okay.
ice cream. Listen to the playlist while you're making the ice cream.
Listen to the playlist, leave a comment on our
Wait.
podcast,
I just
just
have
do
to
what you're
say one more
supposed to do.
thing quickly.
Yeah.
So Alex works from home on Mondays, which was
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I need ice cream. It was the afternoon. It was so I just got back from a walk. I was like, I need ice cream. And I think I told you this office is like right in the kitchen. So I
Yeah.
can't be making a Ninja Creamy um while she's on the phone. So I
Mm-hmm.
literally took the machine and put it in my bathroom and covered it with like 3 towels and made
Mm-hmm.
the ice cream. And I was like, this is
I know. It's
crazy,
like
but
another
absolutely
level of,
necessary.
do you know that I have had that exact same experience, except it was when Magnus was a baby, and I'm like, he'll freak out, but I also will freak out if I don't get this ice cream. And I brought the Ninja Creamy into the bathroom and closed the door because I'm
Oh
like,
my
this
God.
has to happen. So again, you
They
and I,
make
same
this
page.
guy I've been following makes now a cover for it, which I'm
Yum.
gonna write this down because you're so good at
Mm-hmm.
taking notes for things.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send you
Mm-hmm.
the link for Amazon. But it is a cover that goes on top of it
Yeah.
and it blocks out the sound. And he like custom made this. I forgot what his handle is on Instagram, but he makes a bunch of like recipes and stuff. And he came out with this and he also made those like koozies. So
Yeah.
we'll link those in case anybody's interested.
Yeah,
Um,
I again, no judgment if people want to take that next step to do it. I, out of principle, would not buy that because I'm like, I don't feel like I should have to buy a cover for a piece of equipment that is so effing loud that it
yeah.
like interrupts my entire house life because it's so loud. But I mean, it totally makes sense. If it works, it's amazing. But
Yeah,
anyway, if somebody does buy it, report back and let us know if it's worthwhile.
absolutely.
All right. Do you want to read this question from Steph?
Let's see.
No
Yes,
subject. Yeah.
yeah, because we have multiple steps. So, okay.
Yeah.
Hello, big fan. Thank you.
Mhm.
Steph said, I live with my family and they, sorry, aren't the cleanest of eaters. And I've been wanting to eat cleaner or get into a calorie deficit. But how do I do this when they are always making food and wanting to give it to me?
Hmm.
Oh man, why don't you, do you want me to go or you go?
If you
I feel
want to
like I
go,
always
you
go
can go.
first.
I can go. I'll go first. I have no problem going first. I feel like there's some I want to answer in some of the ways that I know you would answer because I was like, I can hear what I think Rachel would say for some of this. But first of all, let's start with empathy because I understand the temptation, right? And it's so hard. The hardest, like junk food or treats to turn down are the ones that are free and readily available and offered to you. You know what I mean? Like that's why
Mhm.
the snacks at the office and, party treats and stuff, they're so hard to say no to because it's free and it's right there. And it's like, it's just, it's so easy to
Mhm.
just pick one of those up. So I get it. When you live in a household or you have people around all the time, they're always encouraging you to just treat yourself and just this once and just have this little treat. I'm having one, it's incredibly hard to turn down. So again, empathy for the situation.
Absolutely.
And then on the flip side, you get to control what goes into your mouth. And the more you create boundaries and habits and be proactive with it, the easier it becomes to avoid, ignore, work around these tempting situations, right? So if you have and this is where I think Rachel's voice comes in. She's like, if you had a coach, if you invested in a coach who could, help you co-create a meal plan, who could help you work in, snacks into your macros, who could also be a support system to you to say like, look, dude, like you can eat chips whenever you want, turn it down, just because it's there doesn't mean you have to eat it, whatever. If you have a support
Mhm.
system that is working with you instead of against you, that can be really beneficial to you. So that's point number one. But even without having a coach, if you have some intention and some plan around what your goals are, and those goals don't include eating whatever it is that the people in your family are eating all the time, if you have that
Mhm.
intentionality, it's easier to say no. If you're just thinking in your head, like, oh, I really don't want to be eating junk all the time, I really want to lose a couple pounds, there's nothing there that's going to stop you when the temptation hits, right? But if you
Yeah.
have, this is what my macros are every day, this is what my meal plan is every day, I have a plan to lose this much body fat in 12 weeks. Like if you have the plan in front of you, it's so much easier to say this doesn't fit what my goals are right
Mhm.
now, so I'm going to say no, right? So
Yeah.
those are kind of the things I would think of immediately. And then it's also like, as we know with behavior change and again, kind of habits, once you've done this, it will be very hard, maybe for the first couple of weeks, because your family is going to be like, what's wrong with you? You can't have this treat or you can't eat this thing, or, you're too
Yeah.
good for this now or whatever. Once you get a couple weeks into it and you're like, look, this is just how I'm eating. This makes me feel better. I've got a goal. This is it becomes easier. Every time you
Yeah.
say no or turn away from something or decide it doesn't work for you, it gets easier and easier and easier. So there's light at the end of the
Why didn't
tunnel.
you
You
just
just have
read
to
my mind?
see,
Exactly.
listen, we're on the
That's
same
literally what I was going to
page.
add. I was like, yes, everything you said. And then you're like,
Yeah.
and also, that's exactly what I
Sorry,
was going to
sorry.
say.
I,
Like,
I took it
no,
and
no,
ran with it.
it's amazing. I love it. I love it. Um, and then I just interrupted you. But no, exactly what you said. Like, the more often you say no, or the more often you do something, you're practicing that, right? You're practicing saying no, and you start to feel the feelings of not consuming that thing and saying no to it and having that discipline. And you're like, oh, wow, like I actually can do this. And you
Mhm.
become more confident in that and you feel all the feels of that. It's just like accomplishing something, right? You set your
Mhm.
mind out to doing something, you accomplish it, you're like, wow, I did that. And you want to do more, right? You want to level up. It's the same concept. The more you say no to certain things like this, the more you do the things that the more you take action in line with your goals, the easier it gets, right? And you
Yep.
kind of have that, you get that momentum going. So that's one thing, like you said. And then also setting yourself up for success, right? Setting your environment up, even though you're in an environment with other people, you can still, you know, have other things on hand. So you're not just like saying no to something, or you're like, oh no, I'm not going to have that because that's not in line with my goals. And you, instead of like swapping it for something else, right? Have something else available. your family brings home ice cream and they're all sitting on the couch having ice cream at the end of a, Friday night after a movie or something, and you're sitting there like, oh, I really want to have this ice cream. Hey, go have your Ninja Creamy
Mhm.
protein huge pint of ice cream. And also what that's going to do, if you do that, a few times, it's going to start to get your family intrigued by like, oh, what are you having there? And they're going to start
Mhm.
to see your results and be like, oh, I want that too. And it's just going to start this trajectory of like now having continuously setting up your environment for that, but then also now bringing other people into it,
Mhm.
um, and setting
Yeah.
that example. So I think those are pieces to it as well.
I love that. And, you and I both, I think, have a fair bit of experience with having to eat differently than maybe our friend group or our family at like different times in our lives. Like currently, I'm not really saying no to much, but there were definitely periods in my life where I was eating very differently than everyone around me. And so you do start to like build some reps and some tools in the toolbox for how to deal with this. And like I've said this a couple times probably in the history of the podcast, but I think one way to approach this, because I get a lot of clients and any friends too telling me like it stresses me out because my friends give me a hard time. Everyone thinks I'm like this weird extreme or like no fun person anymore, or my family makes me feel guilty because I'm not eating what they make or whatever. Like so they just feel like it's easier to just give in and do what somebody else wants rather than eat what they want. And that's another conversation of like sometimes it's okay to indulge and eat the special
Yeah.
treat that your friend made you or whatever. But if we're talking about the case of like you wanting to set boundaries and feeling guilty about it, I think another like a way to approach this is to not make it a big deal. Make it like it can just be this sort of like offhand, it's light for everybody. I'm not trying to condemn you for your choices, but this is what I'm doing. So it's like, why aren't you having a drink with us? It's like, oh, I'm just taking a break from it. I'm just easing off for a little while. I'm just, whatever.
Mhm.
Or, I'm just trying to like, I've got some goals. I'm eating a little bit less sweets now. Like, just, it doesn't have to be like, well, I am changing my life and I'm eating
Yeah.
clean now and my body is a temple. You don't have to make it some like big thing. And if somebody in your life really gives you a hard time, I mean, first of all, chances are people won't fight you as much as you think they're going to. Like they might be like, oh, okay. And then they kind of just move on. But if somebody in your life is like, oh, you're like some weird extreme, like healthy person now, like what's your deal or whatever, you can kind of turn it around on them and be like, why is it so important to you what I'm eating?
Yeah.
Or if I decide to not have a drink, like if they're going to be confrontational, you can ask them, you can be like, why does it matter so much to you if I have the dessert or not? And then they usually probably aren't going to have much to say to that because it's kind of like calling them on their ridiculousness. It's like, what
Yeah.
I eat is my business. What you eat is your business. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, start with the like, not a big deal, just take a break. And then if somebody gives you a hard time, give them a hard time back and see what happens.
Yeah.
Why not?
And
Choose violence.
yes, and I think also too, again, it comes back to like doing it. Like this is,
Yeah.
when I go out to like my friend group goes out all the time, even during the week goes out to dinner. Like there's some event, like last week, so many birthdays, this week, so many birthdays. And even some other like friends in my group too are trying to like not eat out as much as restaurants and eat at home and things like that. And so I've always kind of been like, yeah, I ate before I came. And the first few times they're like, oh, you're not eating. That's weird. Like, but now they're used to it, right? If I choose to not want to eat dinner at this restaurant, on a Wednesday night because I have plans Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I want to eat before I go, but still enjoy the company, I can do that. And it's not, weird or rude. You're just doing what is conducive to your goals. And the more you do that, the more people get used to it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. It becomes normal and it
Mhm.
becomes not a big deal. So it's kind of thinking about that too. Again, it just kind of comes back to like practicing it and making it more of your norm. And then it'll
Yeah,
just be easier over time. So
love that.
yeah.
Yeah, so Steph, if you decide to pick a fight with your family, don't blame us. This was your decision, but let us know how it goes because we'll be interested in the feedback. And good luck because, like I said, it can be tough, right? When everybody else
Yeah.
around you is doing one thing, it can definitely be tough to do something else. But that's why, hitting goals or meeting challenges is hard because you have to go against
Mhm.
what's comfortable, and it's usually worth it. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we
Yeah.
killed this one. So let's move on
Yeah.
before we do something we regret.
You're cracking me up today.
Uh,
Yeah. So don't be insane.
don't do stupid shit, guys. Okay. We'll see you
Yeah.
next time.
Bye.